There are moments in life when you feel completely lost, like you're standing in the middle of nowhere with no map, no direction, and no idea where to go next. You wonder, how did I get here? The dreams you had seem distant. The plans you made have fallen apart, and the path ahead is hidden in uncertainty. You feel invisible, unheard, and abandoned, as if even God has gone silent. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. When you feel lost, God is closer than ever. Feeling lost doesn't mean you're alone. It doesn't mean you've drifted too far or that God has forgotten about you. In fact, it's often in the moments when you feel the most disoriented that God is doing his deepest work. The silence isn't a sign of his absence. It's often a space where he's inviting you to lean in, to listen, to trust. Think of a shepherd and his sheep. When a sheep wanders off, the shepherd doesn't abandon it. He leaves the 99 to find the one that's lost. Not with frustration, but with love, determination, and compassion. That's how God pursues you, not because you've failed, but because you're his. Even when you feel lost, you're never lost to him. You might not see the way forward right now, and that's okay. Faith isn't about always knowing the next step. It's about trusting that God is already there, in the next step, waiting for you. Your feelings may tell you that you're alone, but the truth is, God is closer than your fear, closer than your doubt, closer than your pain. So if today feels heavy, if your heart feels distant, if you're wondering where God is, he's right there, closer than you think, closer than your next breath, whispering, "I've got you." You're not lost. You're held. You don't have to find your way back to him, because he's never left, and he never will. Feeling lost can be overwhelming. It's not just about not knowing where you are. It's about feeling disconnected from who you are. Life doesn't look like you thought it would. The plans you made fell apart, and you're left standing in the rubble, wondering how to put the pieces back together. But here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to find your way back alone. God is already with you, closer than ever. Sometimes we think we have to fix ourselves before we can find God again. We believe that if we just pray harder, have more faith, or get everything together, then we'll feel his presence. But God isn't waiting for you to be perfect. He meets you right where you are, in the middle of the confusion, in the heart of the struggle, in the depths of the uncertainty. Think about a child who gets lost in a crowd. The child might feel afraid, overwhelmed, unsure of how to get back to their parent. But the parent isn't standing still, waiting for the child to find them. They're searching, calling out, pushing through the crowd to reach their child. That's what God does for you. Even when you feel like you've lost your way, he's been coming after you the whole time. The truth is, you're not as lost as you think. You're not off course. You're not beyond reach. The feeling of being lost isn't always a sign that something's wrong. Sometimes, it's the space where God is doing something new, where he's shifting your heart, stretching your faith, preparing you for what's next. You may not understand it now, and that's okay. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who does. Even when the road ahead is unclear, even when the silence feels heavy, even when you don't feel strong enough, God is there. Closer than the confusion, closer than the fear, closer than the ache. So if you feel lost today, don't be afraid. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not alone. God sees you. He knows exactly where you are, and he's walking with you, step by step, breath by breath, guiding you even when you don't realize it. You're not lost to him. You never were, and you never will be. There's something unsettling about feeling lost. It's not just the absence of direction. It's the heavy silence, the unanswered questions, the ache of not knowing what comes next. You start to wonder, did I miss something? Did I take the wrong path? Has God forgotten about me? But here's what's true. Even when it doesn't feel like it, God hasn't gone anywhere. He's closer now than he's ever been. Feeling lost doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. Life isn't a straight path. It's filled with detours, dead ends, and unexpected turns. But the beauty is, God's presence isn't limited to the right path. He meets you in the detours. He walks with you through the wilderness. He's not just waiting for you at the destination. He's right there in the middle of the mess. Think about the story of the prodigal son. The son left home, wandered far, made mistakes, and felt unworthy to return. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him, ran to him, embraced him. The father didn't wait for the son to figure it all out. He met him in his lostness, with open arms and a heart full of love. That's exactly how God sees you. Not with disappointment, but with compassion. When you feel lost, it's easy to think you have to find your way back to God. But the truth is, you don't have to find your way back because He's already right there. You're not alone in the dark, trying to navigate your way home. He's sitting with you in the dark, holding you, whispering, "You're not lost to me." Sometimes the feeling of being lost is actually an invitation to stop striving, stop searching, and simply rest in His presence. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know the next step. You just need to know this: God is with you, right here, right now. So if you feel lost today, overwhelmed, unsure, pause, breathe. You're not as far gone as you think. You're not off course. You're exactly where God can meet you. And He's closer than ever, holding you, guiding you, loving you, every step of the way. There's a quiet kind of pain that comes with feeling lost, a sense of disconnection not just from your purpose, but sometimes even from yourself. You wonder, who am I now? How did I get here? It feels like everything familiar has faded, leaving you with questions and no clear answers. But here's the truth. Even when you don't recognize where you are, God knows exactly where you are, and He's closer than ever. You might feel like you've drifted too far, like you've missed your chance, like the life you dreamed of is out of reach. But God doesn't operate within the limits of our timelines or mistakes. He's not just the God of perfect plans. He's the God who meets you in the detours, the disappointments, the moments when everything feels like it's fallen apart. Think of the stars in the night sky. During the day, you can't see them, but they're still there, constant, unwavering. Just because you can't see God working doesn't mean He's not. His presence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet whisper, a gentle nudge, a subtle reminder in the middle of your uncertainty. I'm still here. You may feel lost, but you're not without purpose. Your feelings are real, but they aren't the whole truth. The truth is, you are still seen, still known, still deeply loved. Sometimes feeling lost isn't about being far from God. It's about being in a place where He's inviting you to see Him in a new way, not through the lens of what you've done or where you've been, but through the simple, unshakable reality that you belong to Him. And here's the beautiful part. God doesn't need you to find your way back to Him. He's already found His way to you, right in the middle of your confusion, right in the silence, right in the ache. His love doesn't wait for you to figure it all out. It meets you exactly where you are. So if you're feeling lost today, take a breath. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to map out the next step. Just be still. Let him find you right here, right now. Because the truth is, you were never lost to him. Not for a second. And you never will be. Feeling lost can make you question everything. Your purpose, your worth, even your faith. It's like walking through a fog where nothing is clear, and every step feels uncertain. You start to wonder, is God even with me? Did I miss something? Why can't I feel his presence? But here's what's true, even when it doesn't feel that way. God is not distant. He's closer than your confusion, closer than your fear, closer than the silence. Sometimes we mistake the absence of feelings for the absence of God. But God's presence isn't based on our emotions. He's not just with you when you feel strong, confident, or full of faith. He's with you when you're weak, doubtful, and broken. His love doesn't waver because you're struggling. In fact, it draws even closer. Think about walking with someone in the dark. Even if you can't see them, you reach out your hand, trusting they're there. God's presence is like that, constant, even when unseen. You may feel lost, but you're never truly alone. You're held, even when you can't feel the arms around you. And here's the thing about being lost. Sometimes, it's the very place where you find what truly matters. When everything else is stripped away, your plans, your certainty, your sense of control, what remains is God. Not the version you thought you needed, but the one who simply is, steady, unchanging, present. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to know how to fix everything. God isn't asking you to find your way back to him. He's already with you, right where you are. And in his presence, even the most broken, lost places become sacred ground. Not because you're strong enough to find him, but because he's loving enough to find you. So today, if you feel lost, don't rush to escape the feeling. Sit with it. Let it be the space where you discover the God who never left, the God who sees you, who knows you, and who calls you his. Even here, even now. You're not lost to him. You never were. At the end of it all, when the noise quiets and you're left alone with your thoughts, it's easy to feel like you've drifted too far, like you're beyond reach. But here's the truth that holds steady. Even when your heart feels shaky, you are never beyond God's reach. In fact, when you feel the most lost, that's often when he's closest. God doesn't need you to have it all figured out. He doesn't love you because you're always strong or because you always know where you're going. He loves you because you're his. Not for what you've done, but simply because you belong to him. And nothing, not your confusion, not your mistakes, not even your doubts, can change that. Think of a lighthouse on a dark, stormy night. Ships lost at sea don't have to search for the light. The light is there, constant, cutting through the darkness, guiding them home. God's love is like that lighthouse. You don't have to find it. It's already shining, steady and sure, even when you can't see it clearly. Sometimes feeling lost is part of the journey. It's in those moments when we stop relying on our own strength and start realizing just how much we need him. And that's not failure. That's faith. Not the kind of faith that's loud and confident, but the quiet, fragile kind that whispers, I don't know the way, but I know you're with me. You see, God doesn't wait for you at the end of the road. He walks with you, step by step, through every twist, every turn, every moment you feel like giving up. He's not disappointed in you for feeling lost. In fact, those are the very moments when his grace wraps around you the tightest. So if today you feel like you're wandering, unsure of where to go or what comes next, pause. Breathe. You don't have to fix it all. You don't have to find your way back, because you're not lost to him. You never were. His love has been holding you all along, and it will keep holding you. Through the confusion, through the darkness, through every moment of doubt. You are seen, you are known, you are loved. And even when you feel the most lost, God is closer than ever.